Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Today, I am very excited to present to you over 10 entrepreneurs today and another 10 tomorrow for reverence and revenue, how to create a successful business without selling your soul. And this morning, I have with me an amazing woman. Malia Mills is the co-founder and partner in crime with her sister, Malia. Thank you.
Partner in crime is exactly right.
So awesome. Of their amazing company. And if you're not familiar with Malia Mills, I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people say Malia.
Right, it rhymes with Maria.
Exactly.
Malia.
That's perfect. Rhymes with Maria Mills. And I first discovered Malia Mills when I lived in New York and read Vogue. Well, when I read Vogue as a kid. You guys started in what year? Tell me.
1992.
I thought so. It was definitely in the 90s because I was in high school and I was reading about you guys. You guys got amazing press because they make swimsuits and ready to wear. We'll talk about that as well. But they started out making swimsuits for real women's bodies. And back in the 90s, that was pretty revolutionary. The other thing that they did that was revolutionary was they actually used real women's bodies as models.
Friends, family, anybody who would show up and put on a bikini, we videotaped or photographed.
Yes, and to me that was really inspiring, and they just have an amazing business, they have an amazing ethos, their retail is really innovative, we'll talk about that too, and if you haven't gotten a Malia Mills swimsuit, you need to. I got mine last summer, used it for a photo shoot, and the rest is history. So, without further ado, Carol, thank you so much.
For to be here, absolutely.
Yay!
So I can sort of start by telling you a little bit about why the business started.
Yes, I would love to do that.
So my sister Malia always felt it was a little odd that women had to buy their swimsuits as sets, right? She said if women had to buy their bra and underwear as a set, we would riot in the streets. So she had just graduated from Cornell, and she had moved out to San Francisco and was working for Gunny Sack. And she got a call from her friend at Cornell who was working for the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. I know you do swimsuits. Do you want to do swimsuits and send them to us in New York? So she did. Long story short, she did. She got a call from Julie Campbell, who was head of that, who said, "We love your swimsuits. I don't know if they're going to be in this issue, but you have a business opportunity because what you do is so fabulous." So she called me. I was working in New York at the time as a graphic designer. What should I do? And I said, you have nothing to lose, right? You have a great idea, just give it a shot. So she threw all her stuff in her truck and she drove cross country and she got a job at the Odeon as waitress. So she would waitress in the evenings and sew bathing suits at night. And sure enough, year 2, she got a bathing suit in Sports Illustrated.
Wow.
Long sleeve bikinis, that was pretty radical at the time too, mixing and matching of fabrics. And she got a call from, I think it was the gal who was married to Hugh Hefner. She said, "I saw your bathing suit and I love it. I want to buy one." In that moment, it was a little bit of a, "Oh, somebody wants to buy my bathing suit." I never really thought about that part of it. I thought about the fact that I wanted to make them, but I never really thought how someone would actually want to buy them. So she sewed this suit and sent it off to a gal. It was very exciting. And she literally was doing everything, sewing bathing suits, dyeing fabrics, delivering bathing suits to Bloomingdale's. It was incredibly complicated. So fast forward probably, 7 years, and I was the design director at Jim Henson at the time, and I just had my first baby, and I came home and said to my husband, can I quit my job and go work with my sister and make no money? And he was a real prince, and he said, yes, you can. So we had our true aha moment, and everyone has one in their business. I went to work in June, and we needed to raise money. We had no money. The only thing we had were swimsuits, right? Swimsuits that hadn't been ordered, right? You have to make a certain amount. Mm-hmm. They don't get ordered wholesale. You basically have swimsuits sitting in your studio. So it was June, and we said, let's have a sample sale. So we sent out all the information, sample sale. The day dawns. The air conditioning breaks. It's about 105 degrees in the studio. And we had hundreds of gals come to the studio. And they would put on a bathing suit, right? It's just a huge open space. Everyone's taking off their clothes, putting on their bathing suits. And they would put something on, it didn't fit. And they'd get discouraged, and they'd sort of put their clothes back on to leave. And we'd go, wait, you just put the wrong suit on. You're a D-cup top, you put an A-cup top on. you're a curvy gal, you might prefer this lowrider bottom. So we started helping the gals at the sample scale, and we sold huge amounts of suits. And the light bulb went off, and I went home to my husband and I said, would you loan us $25,000 to open a store in New York? Because we realized the only way our suits were going to sell well was if we had fit specialists trained to help the gals in the dressing room, right? Our suits were selling at Bloomingdale's amongst a sea of suits with no decent sales help. No one could take that suit off and understand why it was more expensive than the other suit next to it, right? That you could buy it as separate, that the fit was significantly better. And that was really what changed our whole business, which changed from being wholesalers to retailers and just slowly opened our own stores. We're self-financed, which is incredibly difficult and incredibly rewarding. I mean, we literally work really hard to earn enough money to open another store. We've had huge amounts of experience with things not to do. 21 years, I can tell you everything not to do in business, but that's how you learn most of your valuable lessons.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So I am bursting with questions.
Okay, throw them out.
First is, what is the top number one thing not to do?
Wow. Well, let's see. Personally, I think the biggest detriment to our business was the year that we took venture capital money, and it really buried us because I guess the only thing I can say about this is actually a key question about taking a partner, whether it's a financial partner or a business partner or a manufacturing partner. Any partner you take in business is actually even more complicated, should be thought of with much more time than the person you choose to marry. It's the most valuable relationship you're going to have, and most people go into it very hopeful. I hope it's going to work out, instead of picking a partner on whatever level it is, to be able to say, we're going to be great partners because this person does this and this person does that. Not that we both want to do all these things. It's really a division of labor or the business can't succeed. And that's why when people say to us, oh my God, you work with your sister? How's that? For us, it's brilliant because Malia doesn't want to run the business and I don't want to design bathing suits. So we're extremely simpatico in that regard and scarily in sync after 15 years of working together. It's kind of bizarre.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is, they've been in business for a while. When you guys started, did you have an inkling of what it would become?
Absolutely not. So the key thing is we never in our wildest dreams thought about retail. Didn't occur to us until we've been in business, I don't know, 6 or 7 or 8 years. I remember when we opened our first store, which was in 1990, so we were born in 98, so in June, when we opened our first store, which was November of 1998, people weren't opening retail stores, You had department stores. You had a few single branded retail stores, but very few. So that was a big guess on our part. And of course the difficulty was we could only open where we could afford to open. So our first store was on Mulberry Street. It used to be a Chinese sign company. And we literally at midnight are hacking up tiles off the floor. I'm painting the ceiling. I mean, really, we have bootstrapped for 20 years. 20 years, it hasn't gotten any easier. 20 years, we're a bigger company, but we still have the same issues that small companies have. It just never goes away. So that's another key thing I think that most people need to know. If you want to start a business, it is nothing but work. It's not just a good idea. It's like, oh, I have a great idea. Especially now, I think with the internet, I think people have gotten used to, they have an idea and they raise money for it, and that's a somewhat unrealistic way to think about building a business.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said that. If any of you out there are fans of TechCrunch and the other media, and I will go on the record and talk about this actually, and it will make some of my VC friends mad. I think that this obsession with raising money for your business when it's in early stages of startup is absolutely the wrong thing to glorify, and I think it's killing innovation, not helping.
And the fact that they raise money knowing that, I'm only using the lingo because I read a lot, is this pivot, right? We're going to do this, and then we raise all this money. It's like, you know what? We're actually going to do that.
Yeah.
But as a business strategy, I can see it can happen organically. But I'm just saying, as a business strategy, or we're just going to raise a lot of money, and if it doesn't work, we'll turn it into something else. And I'm shocked that gets so many people to throw money at them.
I am too, and ultimately too, it's putting really, really heavy responsibility on the shoulders of the founders.
Correct.
So if you're in the mindset, I need, I had someone tell me the other day, she said, I want to do this, this, and this, but I need to raise money for it, and I said, bullshit. I call your bluff, go prove the concept, go get your waitressing job at the Odeon and make your swimsuits or whatever it is that you're making.
Yeah.
And prove the concept.
Absolutely correct. And the reality is, what you want to do is absolutely don't take money unless you absolutely have to, because the money is going to take away your ownership percentage. It's going to take away a lot of your freedom, and certainly in the apparel business, if you read Women's Wear Daily, which if you're in the apparel business you should, is littered with companies whose owners were thrown out. Right? Segerson Morrison, beautiful, fabulous shoes, wonderful little business humming along. Understandably, like everybody, when they worked as hard as they did, right? They want to take some money out of the business. They want to grow the business. They go into partnership with Nine West, and I certainly don't know what happened, but I can tell you, basically 1 year later, they're out. They have nothing. They don't have their business, and that's a perfect example from certainly what I read of a partnership where I am certain Nine West said, yeah, we hear you, we want to do all this, and so these guys went into it, and then all of a sudden they get in and they're like, this guy doesn't want to do the same thing we want to do at all. And typically it almost always in that instance it is, well, we can make those shoes cheaper and make more money. And then you don't have the same business. Then you have a business that makes cheaper shoes.
Exactly.
So it's very complicated. Don't take money unless you absolutely have to.
And Carol, I'm very much in your camp. Sorry, friends, or VCs.
But you know what, the VCs have a place, but you need to know what they're there for. VCs are, all they're there for is to make money for themselves. It's not a bad thing, but I'm saying they have a plan. We're going to come in, we're going to grow the business, and we're going to exit the business. They're not there to hold your hand and grow the business and stay with you. They want to make money and exit the business, and unless you're willing to go along on that, understand what they want, you absolutely cannot take their money. Because they're not going to change their minds. You're going to lose.
Yeah, and on the subject of money, I'm curious. Some of you may be in the space where you're getting either angel funds or bank loans. What's your take on angel investors and
I guess,
financing?
I would say an angel investor, you just have to do the same amount of due diligence as a VC. I mean, are they truly an angel investor? Are they truly giving you the money because they're interested in your business, or they're interested in the product, or they're interested in building businesses? I mean, there's all kinds of reasons people invest along those lines. But the key thing, and I'll tell you how we got our money, it's classic, you do need to have people help you. So 20 years ago, I'm not sure how we got there, I'm sure someone recommended it. We went to see Sal Costa at Sterling National Bank. They're a very small bank in New York that are known for helping people in the apparel business.
Oh, interesting.
And Sal Costa, a big shout out to Sal Costa because he totally held our hand. So the very first loan we got, I think, was $20,000. And what happens in the small business arena is these banks that make small loans to small businesses know where else they can find partnerships. So the city of New York guarantees a percentage of the small loans, so you've mitigated the risk to the bank, so they're much happier to do it. And I mean, by hook or by crook, we paid back these loans, and it's made, so over 20 years, we now have a very large line of credit. Still not as big as we really need, and some of it is collateralized. I mean, we've been doing this for years, and we still have a collateralized loan. That's key to remember. So it's no different than any other aspect of your business. It's a small, slow build. You can't walk in and ask for $1 million line of credit. But once you start demonstrating, and we sit with our banker every year after we do our taxes, this is where we are, this is where we are, this is where we are, and why your banker is so important. So when the shit hits the fan, like it did in 2008, we didn't go out of business. We had bankers that worked with us, right? They were extending our loan, giving us a little more money, helping us out in other ways. When stuff is really bad, I've been able to call Sal Costa and say, Sal, I need your help. I either need you to loan me a little more money, or I need a little bit of this, or I need a little bit of that. I mean, it never ends. The bootstrapping never ends, I don't think. Certainly not for us. We've been doing it for 20 years.
So with that approach, tell me why do it? What's in it for you? If it's a, I don't want to say struggle, but if it's a
Yeah,
challenge.
well, except just remember, every business is a challenge. Some businesses,
Agreed.
some jobs are challenges because they're really boring. Some businesses are challenges because you have a horrible boss, right? You gotta go in every day. Some businesses are challenges because you have to commute an hour and a half. Some are challenges because you don't get paid a lot. So the reality is, we're so much happier being our own boss. The problems are ours, and they are, and luckily we can still laugh about it. You know, the time we went to our store and the door had a huge notice on it from the sheriff that you're being thrown out for non-payment. Well, we had subleased from the bridal store, had a big space. We subleased, we paid our rent, she didn't pay her, she didn't send the rent in, so they padlocked both doors, her door and our door. So at 12 o'clock at night, we're dialing around to find a U-Haul, because we know if we don't get that stuff out of there, all our inventory and furniture will be out of business.
Oh my gosh.
You can't, the amazing thing about a small business is you cannot visualize the problems you may have. You might think you can, but they will surprise you no end. The call, that someone's just thrown a huge rock through our window in Lexington at 11 o'clock at night and stolen the computer, and Malia and I are in California, so now we have to solve getting someone there, getting someone to board it up at 11 o'clock at night, and of course that's what's great about New York. You need something done at 11, 2, 5 in the morning. There's always somebody who will do it.
So you refer to your business as a small business still?
Mm-hmm.
How many employees do you have?
We have in slow season about 35, and then we'll go up to 50 in the summertime.
Wow.
We ramp up because we're busiest then.
Wow. And I know that you've opened several stores in the past year.
Yep.
Specifically, I got to visit the one in Santa Barbara.
Awesome. Beautiful store, isn't it?
Beautiful
In the
store.
Montecito Country Club. Yeah.
You guys, and I think I'm gonna have a retreat at the Santa Barbara Four Seasons because it's amazing.
Yes, it is. Yes.
And maybe we'll take a field trip.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But it's a magical place, the whole city of like little town village of Montecito.
And let me tell you the other interesting thing about that store. So in 2008, we got a call from Jim Rosenfield, who owns the Brentwood Country Mart, and he has always wanted us to be in his country marts, and the whole country was in a tailspin. But he totally held our hands and said, "Look, let's work it out. Come open a store at my Brentwood Country Mart. We'll figure it out. Don't panic. Don't worry about the security deposit. We'll make it work." So we've been partners with him since '08, and we're now in all his country marts. So we're in the Montecito Country Mart, and we're in the Marine Country Mart in Larkspur. Cool. So that's another key thing. If you're ever thinking about opening a store, this is true for everybody, but especially your landlords. He's not a nice guy. You do not sign a lease. You do not sign leases anymore with asshole landlords, because when the shit hits the fan, he's not going to be there for you. If the leak comes in from the guys upstairs, they're not going to be there for you. So we only have stores with nice landlords. It's really not worth it. Is it somebody you can have dinner with? And the reality is that you go through with everything. When we had VC money, and when we were just about to do it for the second time many years later, and we had 1 year worth of meetings, crazy. We literally are just about to sign the paperwork, and so he finally sends the final package to us. We said we're meeting for champagne, and all of a sudden we're reading the paperwork. We're like, this is not the same guy. This is not the same language that we've been chit-chatting with this guy using. And we met him to have champagne, before we signed it. And literally, when it was over, we both looked at each other and said, "We're not going to do it. That close, we're not going to do it." He just showed his true colors, who he really was. So everybody you choose to be in business with, you really, the test for us is twofold. Would you eat dinner with them, and how do they treat waitresses? People.
I love that. And you said that at Rock the World.
Yeah.
And you guys, that's tweetable. That is something to write down in blood.
Yeah.
Because I've been burned in commercial leases specifically.
Totally. It's horrible. All the promises they make.
Yeah.
And basically, most landlords, not all, are trying to squeeze as much money as they can, and they don't care if the building falls down around them, which I cannot understand.
Absolutely.
But, yes.
And they will always show their true colors in advance if you're looking for those red flags.
Correct.
So pay attention to the red flags. Don't make them into jewelry and a neck scarf. Like, actually look at the red flags and see them.
We have conversations. It used to make us nervous, but we literally in the conversations talk about the stores we closed, so they understand nothing is a perfect thing, right? We closed our store in Chicago. It happens. You open a store, the recession hits, doesn't work, you close your store. So sharing that with the landlord is a really key thing, because if that's gonna freak them out, you might as well know now,
Yeah.
rather than later.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So, I want to go next to, well, I've like 3 questions I want to make sure we get. First is, the fashion industry is notoriously cutthroat and full of crazies.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of people were awesome, but
And
yes,
there are,
yes.
there are a lot of
I
awesome
bet.
creatives.
I bet you just hear more about the crazies because there
Okay.
is a lot of press about fashion.
Sure.
That's my guess.
Sure.
Anyway, go ahead.
So, how do you guys maintain your integrity in a business that is notorious for being?
Well, a couple of things. Malia is maniacal about the language that we use because we really believe in a lot of things, right? We believe women are beautiful the way they are. We believe women should feel fabulous about themselves. We believe women should focus on the positive, not the negative. You know, they come into our store and they feel terrible, and we're always saying, what do you love about yourselves? Is it your beautiful curves? Is it your beautiful shoulders? Do you have a beautiful long neck? There's something. Everybody's got something. So one of the things that we're very conscious of is using very positive language, and we feel like it's something we need to train people with. So when we do deal in sometimes the media, which can be crazy, Malia works very hard to say, you need to review what you're going to write, and you need to use these kinds of words. So we really try and make sure our brand is true to what our mission is, love thy differences, and that's constant work. And the other thing, to be perfectly honest, is we're kind of this surprise. I can't tell you how many people don't know about our brand because we don't really fall into that. We're going to promote ourselves within that crazy fashion. You know, we don't have a runway show, and I think in some ways that's why we're still in business, because we quietly hum along rather than trying to get into that promotion.
Yeah, I would say that in opting out of a lot of that hullabaloo, you guys have been able to have more of a consistency, I would suspect,
exactly.
of your business.
Exactly. And remember, it's hard to do that because it's pretty heady to get to have the media want to speak to you, and Malia has huge amounts of opportunities. But we really have finally, this is key actually, because you really need to manage your time well. What is it I'm trying to accomplish with whatever the conversation is I'm about to have? And if it's not really going to help you, it may not be a conversation that you need to be part of.
Sure. My next question is about e-commerce and your ready-to-wear line. So it's double header. They have recently launched clothing, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And a pretty robust e-commerce site.
Mm-hmm.
So in fashion, you guys, I know that we live in the era of Amazon, but fashion was actually very slow to adopt e-commerce. I mean, in 2005, no one had an e-commerce site. There are still major brands, Chloe being one of them, that don't have e-commerce, period. Like, they sell it on saxovalue.com, but they don't have their own e-commerce. So fashion has been notoriously slow to adopt that, and we all use e-commerce. I would suspect everybody who's on this broadcast. So my question is, tell us the inspiration, the why for the ready-to-wear, and then also what you found and discovered about your brand and about your customers from e-commerce.
So I'll start with the first one, why ready-to-wear. A couple things. A key thing when running your business is you need to understand your cash flow. So we are actively trying to reduce the seasonality of our business, right? How can we get gals into our stores more often, right? Bathing suits typically you buy once a year, and a lot of gals buy it once every 3 years. So that's from a business standpoint one of the reasons that we've introduced it, but the real reason we've introduced it is Malia has always had a vision for somewhat holistically what you take away in your suitcase, right? It has evolved into seasonless urban dressing, but the essence was always a couple of things. What do you put in your suitcase? And one of the key reasons she also started her business was she always said, if you wouldn't have a bright Hawaiian print on a dress that you're wearing, why would you wear a bathing suit that has a bright Hawaiian print? Her essence was always, your swim wardrobe should reflect your personal style.
Sure.
So that's a big deal, right? Because most bathing suits don't reflect your personal style, or we have stores full of nothing but neons and Hawaiian prints, right? Which doesn't make sense. So the essence of the ready-to-wear has been expand on that, which is if your personal style is urban, same thing. Would you wear a Hawaiian print kimono because you're at the beach? I mean, that's what's out there. You see that really, really poorly made, typically very cheap. I even hate the word cover-up, but the cover-up industry is notoriously cheap and notoriously low fashion. So Malia just said, I'm making beautiful bathing suits, and we really should be expanding that into beautiful cover-ups that gals can reflect their personal style at the beach. And more importantly, because our ready-to-wear is not inexpensive, we use beautiful cottons, there's a lot of beautiful seaming, they're quite expensive to manufacture. We believe if you understand a wardrobe, you should be able to say a beautiful, solid cotton dress that I'm wearing over something to the beach can also be layered with jeans and a turtleneck in the fall. I can put it with a big puffy coat in the winter and some chunky boots. So it really is much more, this is one of my favorite pieces, and I can figure out ways to wear it all year long, not just photo bathing.
Great.
And then I'm going to tell you about our e-commerce, just because it's amazing. So we had our first e-commerce site in 1999. So we were major league early adopters.
Super.
And it was, as you can imagine, crazy, right? Literally at that point, you were writing code, HTML code. And so, because we're a small business and I know a little bit about everything, I finally got to the point where I had to teach myself code so I could make the changes. So I wasn't actually setting up, but at least I could write the code and say, we're going to change the name of this, and that's literally, if you know anything about code, okay, that's where the name is, so now I'm going to change it there, and then this is where the picture is, so I'll change the link. I mean, it was crazy.
I would say that most of the people watching also have familiarity with HTML,
Yeah.
so we feel you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, it was crazy. And,
that was before WordPress, you guys.
So really, but really for us, the incredibly difficult thing was getting people to feel comfortable buying our product online. That's your most complicated thing.
Especially with swimwear.
Because swimwear that's expensive is extremely difficult. But what we found is I would say the number one reason for our e-commerce site is to drive business to our stores. People can go and see what's there, they can understand about the brand. Secondarily, the gals use it once they've already been in our store. They can say, and we have most gals who are rabid, I only wear this style, and I only want this style, so they'll go online and they'll share the colors. And then thirdly, it would be gals who can't get to the store. But we are very fortunate. We have superb fit specialists online. It's just not an order taking. It's really, tell me about your bra size and your pant size. Tell me about the type of swimwear you like to wear. So Joanna and Arta, who are managing it right now, get fan letters all the time. I can't believe I got such a great suit, not being fit by having conversation, but we are specialists, we do it all the time.
That's amazing.
So we get pretty darn close to what is correct, if not right on the first time, based on a conversation. And remember, the difficulty is most women don't know the bra size.
Right.
We're wearing the wrong bra size. So then we're starting from she says I'm a 34C and she's really a 32D.
Yeah,
that's complicated. So, but so far it seems to work, and it's getting bigger. It's a slow build, and each year we just launched a new website that's extremely consumer friendly, which helps a lot. Now you can actually order a top and a bottom on the same page. You used to have to go to tops and then go all the way back and then go to bottoms. It was making it really difficult for everybody.
That's interesting. So you guys, user experience is super important here.
Yeah.
We're going to weave a theme throughout. I personally think that customer experience, abbreviated CX, is going to be the hot topic for probably the next 24 months, if not longer. And customer experience, you've just described to us a customer experience that puts the customer first and is very singular to your brand.
Yeah.
And I suspect that that's why you have such rabid following.
Correct.
And without having a brand that is, say, as big, if you follow Michael Kors, he's doing massive expansion thanks to a lot of an infusion of cash. And they're looking at CX more than a mass brand would.
Right.
But you guys are really doing a luxurious CX experience.
And remember, a key thing, it has to be a believable CX experience. Right? We all walk into stores and the first thing the gal says, love your boots. I'm thinking, okay, I just walked in. She barely had time to even see my boots. And I'm pretty clear that she's saying I love your boots because the CX experience, page 1, number 1, greet the customer by responding to something she's wearing. Whereas we we really believe it needs to be a believable customer experience. You know, why are you coming in? First off, it's we always feel as if it's someone coming into our home, so you wouldn't just let them walk in your front door and not greet them. And you wouldn't have them walk in your door and say to the person, "Can I help you?" You'd be like, "Hey, so great to see you. Come on in, right? Can I get you something to drink?" I mean, it would be a much more just like a conversation. And it's hard because we have to train gals, as weird as this sounds, to be themselves, because most people are so used to these bad customer service experiences that that's what they think we want when we hire them. And we constantly have to say, we're actually hiring you because you're a great conversationalist and you're lit up and you're happy to see people. The suits will sell themselves. Whatever's in my store would sell itself, right? If you go into a store and you want to buy something, if you see something you like, you're going to buy it. No amount of, "Can I help you?" to "What do you need? What are you looking for?" is going to actually change the whole conversation. And the only reason it's a little bit different for us is sometimes gals come in, they want to buy a suit, but they don't want to tell you they want to buy a suit because they don't want you bugging them about buying a suit, because buying a suit is such a hot button. So it still is a lot of just hand holding, look around, you know, if I can help you. You know, we've been trained as fit specialists to give them a comfort level. They do get into the store and see that we have huge dressing rooms, so that's valuable, that they're going to be able to go in and not have their coat falling on their head and their bag, you know, falling out the cabana. So
Cool. Well, you guys, we are just about out of time.
and I'm just about to cough, so go ahead.
We can grab one.
It's right. Mine's
I
right
think it's
here
on the
somewhere.
table. Carol, thank you
Reverse
so
end for you.
much. No, it was amazing, and I know that this was a perfect way to start off our 2 days, because we touched on so many things that are important for you guys: the long-term cash flow, partnerships, any kind of doing business with other people, e-commerce and CX. So I really think that you were a perfect start to our
I'm so
day.
happy to hear, because we are always happy to share our story.
Oh my
We
gosh.
just love women and we want to empower women, and we all hang together. We will in fact run the world. So you just have to, one day at a time.
Yeah, so I encourage you guys to check out maliamills.com. And you guys have something special for our
We
watchers.
do. So for all you gals who got up early this morning and are here, $50 off your next purchase at Malia Mills. So if you go online, you can call Joanna and tell her that you saw Carol Mills, and I offer that $50 off. And or go into our stores and mention me, and you get $50 off your purchase.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
We will definitely be putting that in an email out to you guys. We'll put all the offers from all of our speakers today and tomorrow into one comprehensive email so you have access to it easily. And if you have a question about what their swimsuits look like, I believe I have my Facebook profile picture is a Malia Mills swimsuit. It's the red one.
Perfect.
So check it
And
out.
I mean it when I say that. I mean, I know I'm sending this out to the blogosphere, but if you have a specific question, I'm happy to answer questions, so you can always post my email.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right. Thank you guys. We're going to go offline for about 20-ish minutes, and we'll be back at the top of the hour. If you have any questions, comments, put them in the social media feed or tweet at magnetismfactor.com. Or no, just at magnetismfactor. And we have Lisa Bowles coming up, who is amazing, and the Soul Mapper. And if you don't know her work, we'll dive into that when we return. Thanks.
Okay, so now is
Stop
recording.